So welcome to the Anxiety and Belief Change webinar. Today, what we're going to be talking about is how your beliefs and your thoughts and really the stories and the meaning that you attach to things that happen in your life can create anxiety. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. This is going to be a powerful session. I would encourage you to have a pen and paper handy to take some notes so that you can really get the most out of this. One of the ways that I always work with people is through application. So I don't want to just be here talking, teaching, sharing information with you guys, and then you not taking anything away from this. I want you guys to be active in your learning, so taking notes and really listening along for any instructions on how you can actually start to implement what I'm about to teach you into your life. So the first thing I wanted to do before we dive into the webinar is just to break down what exactly is anxiety. I think it's always good to have some definitions so that we can understand what anxiety actually is, because in what I've noticed from working with hundreds of different people is that with anxiety, it can be very nuanced, it can be very personal, and it shows up in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. So I just wanted to define what anxiety is and what I've seen it as after working with hundreds of people over the last 4 years. So here's a brief explanation of how I see anxiety. Anxiety is a mental, physical, and emotional experience that you can have that is driven by fear, right? So a couple of key points there. It's an experience that you can have. One thing that I'm really mindful of is not to identify as someone who like is anxious or like has anxiety as a disease, right? Because I don't think that's what it is. I think it's an experience that you can have, right? And just like any experience, it's a passing experience. It comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes. And for anxious people who are, you're more prone to experiencing it more regularly, that's fine. That's why you're here learning about it. But I want you to understand firstly that it's an experience that you can have. And just like any other experience, right? Experiences come and they go. So anxiety can show up in your life through overthinking, negative thoughts, constant doubt, so self-doubt, and this can be doubt at yourself, or it can also be doubting others, right? And worry. So usually it's self-centered. Usually it's focused on yourself. So there's negative thoughts about yourself, overthinking about yourself, self-doubt, worrying about things that are happening in your life. However, it can also show up as doubt, overthinking, worry based off other people around you as well. So it could be like almost like a paranoia of what you think other people are thinking. So that's overthinking about others, right? Or negative thoughts about others, always seeing the worst in others. It can be focused on the self or it can be focused on others. And it's usually overthinking, negative thoughts, doubt, worry, right? It can also create physical symptoms like pain in the body. I've had so many different people tell me about so many different pains that they've experienced in their body from their anxiety. So whether that is behind the eyes is quite a common one, shortness of the breath, tightness of the chest, elevated heart rate. But sometimes it can even just be something that drains all of the energy out of your whole body, and you just feel drained and tired and sluggish and just in pain. So if you leave anxiety and stress unchecked as well, it can also have a range of other effects on different other areas of your physical health. So it can, for women, it's not uncommon for me to hear about like PCOS and for IBS as well. Lots of inflammatory diseases and stuff like that can be very closely linked with anxiety and stress. Or if people have those physical diseases, then or the physical, symptoms and stuff like that, it's very likely that they've got some stress and anxiety as well, because the stress and the anxiety creates inflammation in the body, which really flares up any physical, issues that are going on as well. Not to say that that's the case for everyone, it's not, but it can be. And it can make you obviously feel in a state of panic, as if the world is caving in on you, and that can lead to irrational behaviors and undesirable outcomes. So if you are anxious or you're experiencing anxiety and you start to feel like that panic state, you start to feel like the world is caving in on you, everything's getting small, pressure is building, and that can lead you to these irrational behaviors, whether it's not not achieving the things that you wanted to achieve, procrastinating on things, making mistakes in your work, or saying things that you didn't want to say in communication, or holding back from saying things that you did want to say. These kind of irrational behaviors, which will then lead to undesirable outcomes in your life, and that can be at work, it can be at home, it can be professional, it can be personal, it can be relational. But that's kind of like an overarching image of a very high level image of what I see anxiety as, right? It's this experience that shows up in all these different ways, mentally, physically, emotionally, right? So now that that definition's done, I'm going to walk you through something today, it's actually a new framework of understanding that I've recently built out to really help you guys understand how the anxiety starts in the mind, but then how the thoughts and the beliefs that you have in your mind affect your body, and how the chemicals and the hormones in your body that start to change when you're experiencing anxiety will affect your emotions, which will affect your actions and your outcomes. So I've called this the self code, right? The code of yourself, how your inner world works. So after you finish watching this, you're going to have a very clear understanding about how your inner world, or how your self works. What's the internal programming that kind of runs your system? And it's really important to know this, because when you know this, you know how to fix it, or you know how to change it, or reprogram it, or whatever word you want to use, right? If you understand yourself, this is always the first part. You have to understand yourself. And once you understand yourself, you can change yourself. You can reprogram yourself, right? Fix is not really the best word to use, but you get the point, right? You're reprogramming or you're changing yourself. So let's get into it now. I'm going to break it down for you, and we're going to walk through this step by step. So this is where you're going to want to start to take some notes. Introducing the self code. Now we're going to start with the high level, right? We're going to start with the psychological aspect of yourself. So the mental aspect of yourself, really your brain and your mind. So we start with consciousness and awareness, right? Now, this is something that every single human has. We all have consciousness, we all have awareness. However, no one's really defined what this is, right? Can you guys just make sure that you're muted as well, please? I think someone's unmuted. So if you could just mute yourself, that would be amazing. Thank you. So we all have consciousness and awareness, right? We all have consciousness. But the funny thing about consciousness is we don't really know what it is, right? No one has actually said this is what consciousness is. We've got a lot of spiritual teachers who are making assumptions. We've got a lot of scientists who are getting close to what they think it could be based off quantum quantum science and all that kind of stuff, quantum theory. However, no one really knows what it is. The closest thing that we could say that it is your senses and your perception. So your consciousness is essentially, or your awareness is essentially like your senses. So your eyes, your touch, so your sight, your hearing, your feeling, your smelling, all of that. You're sensing the world, or you're perceiving the world, and that could be called your awareness or your consciousness. At the very least, that is where the information comes in, right? You receive information through your awareness, through your consciousness, right? So you have this sense of the world, or you're perceiving the world, right? And this is happening through your conscious awareness. The information's coming in. And the next thing that happens once we receive information, right? Once we sense things, we see things, we hear things, we smell things, we touch things, we feel things. Once we sense it, the next thing that we do is we start to create a belief around it, or a story around it, or a meaning around it. Now, this is something that humans do that no other animal on earth does. We have this mind, this brain that can create thoughts and stories and meaning and belief. So the thing with humans is we always create belief and meaning about everything that happens, right? And we've been doing this since we were children. So, if you hang around with babies or young children or anything like that, you can see they're mostly in the first 7 years of a child's life, they're really operating up here, right? They're just sensing everything. They're just sponging up information. They don't really know what's going on. They've never been to Earth before, right? So they have no idea what's going on. They're just like, just looking around, right? Like a little baby, just perceiving things and sensing things and receiving information from their environment, right? So receiving information from their parents or from the family around them or the environment around them. Maybe they go to daycare, they start to learn stuff at daycare. Maybe they go to prep, they start to learn stuff at school, right? They're just really just receiving information. And then what's going to start happening is they're going to start to make stories and they're going to start to create thoughts. They're going to start to create beliefs. Like my daughter, she's about to turn 2. And for the first 18 months of her life, I don't think she was just sponging in information, right? And she wasn't thinking because she didn't have thought. There was no words, there was no language for her, right? In the first 18 months of her life, she didn't understand language. She was just learning that. But now she's about 2, she's nearly 2, and I can see that she's starting to say words. So she's learning language. So now she can probably think. She's probably having some thoughts in her brain. She knows when I count 1, she can count 2 next, right? So she starts to get thoughts. But before that, she didn't have any, right? Because she didn't know language. But she's now got language from the environment, from my wife and I, plus cousins and friends we have around. So she's learnt the language, and now that's at 18 months, right? About 18 months. So now she knows language, and now she can have thoughts, right? She can start to create meaning, right? If dad says 1, it means the next thing is 2. So she's just starting to learn, and that's all happening in the brain. And then also, my wife was unwell last week, and Coco, my daughter, saw that she was unwell, and so I think Coco started to develop a story of like mummy's not well because she would be like mummy would be sad and be feeling sick and be tired and lying down, and Coco started to go over and say up, up, like gut up, like she was kind of like she was making probably developing a story or a meaning about what's going on with mummy. She's lying down, she's not very well, right? So she starts to create stories and she starts to create meaning. Now, another thing that's important to understand is, so this is just something that happens with all humans, and it starts from early, right? We start to learn this stuff early. And we're just learning up until we're like 7, and then even really from there until we're like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, we can still just be in this developmental stage. When they're below 7, another thing that's important to understand is that they're not really conscious. Their conscious mind hasn't really developed. They're operating mainly from their unconscious or subconscious mind, right? So there's no like cognitive function that's really aware. It's just like it's going straight into the unconscious mind. So this is probably something to talk about before I go any further. You've got 2 aspects of your mind, which is over here. You've got the conscious aspect, and then you've got the unconscious aspect. So you could think of the conscious aspect as your rationale. So you develop this, when kids are young, they don't really have it. They're just like imaginative, and they're just like, oh yeah, they don't really think very consciously. But then they become teenagers, they start to think more consciously, right? They start to have their way about how they want to live. And if you guys are here, you're adults, you can be consciously aware of the way that you want to live your life. But there's also this unconscious aspect of your life. So perhaps you're not experiencing the life that you really want to be experiencing, or you've got these anxious patterns that continue to play out in your life, or these undesirable patterns that continue to play out in your life. Maybe you're getting frustrated, or you're angry, or you can't stop smoking or drinking or doing something. It just keeps happening over and over again. And you're like, why? I don't want this. Consciously, you know that you don't want this happening, but unconsciously, it's happening because it's part of your program. Because you learn your programs when you're from 1 to 7, big time. But then even through your teenage years up until like 20, right? You're still learning. So the conscious aspect of the mind really only controls about 5% of your life. It's just what's here and now. Whereas the unconscious aspect of your mind is really like your deeper identity and your deeper self-image. And it's really like how you see the world and how you see yourself in the world. It's the deeper stories and beliefs and meaning that you assign to yourself and to the world. And the unconscious mind really is in control of 95% of what you experience in your life. So the unconscious mind is responsible for about 95% of what happens in your life, where the conscious mind is only in control of about 5% of what happens in your mind. Most of your life is driven by your unconscious or subconscious mind. So whatever thoughts and stories and beliefs that you have developed in your early childhood or in even your teenage years, that is really controlling your life now. So a big part of what we're going to do with this belief change is to look at how do we change those unconscious stories. Now, another thing that happens at this level is you have confirmation and disconfirmation. So let's say that you do have these unconscious stories about, so for example, I'll use anxiety, right? Anxiety, a big part of anxiety is I don't feel safe, I feel scared, I feel afraid, right? There's something to be afraid of. And it can be something like maybe I'm not good enough, or I feel like I'm alone, or I feel like I'm not safe, or it's not safe for me to do things by myself. I need someone else to do it with me, or I need someone else to be here to give me love, to give me validation. Let's just say that's the story that you've got that is creating anxiety, right? Now, that's an unconscious story, probably. You're not consciously aware of it. You're going about your life, you're doing your things, but there's always just this unconscious, or this in the back, there's always just this anxiety. It's like it just won't go away, right? So it's kind of in the back there, but it's driving a lot of the ways that you behave. Another thing that your mind does is it confirms or disconfirms your own stories and beliefs. So if you've got beliefs about yourself being not good enough, or being in danger, or your body's not safe, or the world's not safe, or it's hard for you to do things, or there's something wrong with you, if you've got that belief, which was been developed probably earlier in your life from your environment, your brain will try to confirm it or disconfirm it. So your brain is always trying to confirm or disconfirm beliefs. So it'll confirm unconscious beliefs about yourself. So if you say, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I've got anxiety, it's just boom, 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 more anxiety, more anxiety, more anxiety. It's confirming that belief that you have about yourself, that there's something to be afraid of. Or it will disconfirm. So for example, a lot of people will say things like, a lot of people limit themselves. Oh, I wouldn't be able to do that. Let's say you want to grow a business, or you want to get married, or you want to have a relationship, you want to have a family. Let's use relationships as an example, because that's a good one, right? Oh, I can just never find, I can never find the right partner. There's no good people out there, right? And so then we have disconfirmation, because you'll have there's a confirmation of the negative belief. If you keep saying to yourself, I can't find a good partner, there's no good guys out there, or there's no good girls out there, that's going to be confirmed as well. So that's essentially this disconfirmation, right? Like, yeah, you're right, there's no good people out there, right? And so then that kind of creates this reality where you just never find a good person, because you don't believe that there's a good person there. And then the brain is always looking for all of the reasons why there is no good people. Same thing with work. Let's say you want to, grow your business, and you say, oh, I don't know, I just feel stuck at this plateau. I can't get to the next level, right? Cool. That's how you live. That's what you get, right? Same thing. I just can't progress in my career. I don't know what I want to do with my life. What am I like? Am I going to just live like this for the rest of my life, in this kind of this job where I can't really move anywhere? If you keep thinking like that, you have that story, that belief, confirmation, confirmation, confirmation. Right. So this is the first thing that happens, right? You got to understand. Now, I told you guys before that it's all anxiety is also a mental, emotional, physical issue. So this is where it starts, though, right? We have our conscious awareness. We receive information. We start to create stories and meaning about the world when we're younger. We start to get these thoughts, these stories, the beliefs, the meaning. So then these things are all unconscious. They're in the back of the mind or in below the mind, right? Subconscious. And we're not fully aware of them, but we have this sense that something's not the way it should be. But our current stories, beliefs, and meanings, even if they're limiting, are continually just being confirmed over and over again. So we feel stuck, we're not going anywhere, right? This is where it all starts, right? Up here. You get the awareness, you create the story about what's happening, you give it meaning. Now, this is where it gets interesting because this is all psychological, right? It's just that's the information coming in into your awareness, and this is what's happening, right? The next thing that happens is that your thoughts, beliefs, stories, and meaning will actually create different physiological changes in your body. So your brain starts to affect your body. Your thoughts, beliefs, stories, and meanings will change the chemicals and hormones in your body. Now, an example of this, I gave an example on Instagram the other day, right? If you guys are here, you may maybe live in Australia, you might know Robert Irwin, right? Steve Irwin's son. He's like the crocodile hunter's son. So I gave this example the other day of like, let's say you're locked in a room with you and Robert Irwin, right? Because Steve Irwin's not here anymore. Rest in peace, Steve Irwin, right? But let's say you're in a room with Robert Irwin, and it's just you and him, and then someone throws a snake into the room, right? Now, the example that I gave the other day is that you are both going to have different experiences. For most people, like I know for me, definitely, if someone threw a snake into the room and I was just there with Robert Irwin, I'd probably start to feel stressed, right? I'd probably start to get a little bit of anxiety. I'd probably get to the stress chemicals of cortisol and adrenaline because fuck that, there's a snake, right? That thing's going to come at me and I don't want to get bitten by a snake because I don't know anything about snakes. Is it a dangerous snake? Is it a safe snake? I don't know. It's just a snake. I'm freaking out, right? So then the chemicals, so my belief is that snakes are dangerous. I think that snake is going to fuck me up. And so then my body changes. The chemicals in my body changes. The hormones changes. I'm getting cortisol. I'm getting adrenaline. My physiology is changing, and I'm starting to move into the fight or flight mode. My nervous system will start to change, right, based on my thought about the snake. Now, the example is great because in contrast, Robert Irwin, he will be chill as he spends his whole life hanging out with snakes, right? His thought about snakes is he'll be able to identify it quickly. He has a belief that he can probably just pick it up and, manage that snake with ease. So his thoughts and stories and beliefs about snakes are totally different to mine based on his sensory awareness, the information that he's received over his life. He spent his whole life hanging out with snakes. So that was his environment, right? And because of that environment that he was in, he created specific stories. And then he's had those stories confirmed and disconfirmed his whole life. Snakes are actually sweet. I pick them up all the time, no worries. So his chemicals won't change. His hormones won't change. His physiology won't change. He'll just stay calm. And he'll just go, oh yeah, that's a green tree snake. And I'll be like, oh, fuck. And he'll just pick it up and I'll be like, oh wow. So he's not going to have any experience that's like heightened about the snake, whereas I was having one, right? So this is how your thoughts and your beliefs and your stories will start to change your physiology. So if you're anxious, let's just say, I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and she was telling a story about when she opens up her email inbox, then that can be an anxiety-inducing experience for her. And she was asking, like, is this normal? Like, what's going on here? And I was like, okay, well, what's your belief about the inbox, about the email inbox? And she said, well, I just think that all the bad news comes through my emails, right? So the awareness over like the information that she's received over the years has probably been okay. Every time I open my inbox, there's a bill or there's something I need to pay or there's some bad news. So she starts to create this. So that's the information that's coming in. That's the sense or the perception. Then creates the story. Oh man, everything that comes through my inbox is bad, right? Everything that comes through my inbox is bad news. So there's a thought and a story there, right? The inbox is almost dangerous, right? Because it's just giving me bad news. I got to pay money. I got to pay bills, all this kind of stuff. So every time she opens the inbox, she's getting this change in her physiology. She's starting to feel stress. She's starting to feel a bit of adrenaline racing. Like, fuck, I don't want to open my inbox right now, right? Nervous system going into fight or flight, which leads to emotions and feelings, right? So this is where the anxiety, the fear, the doubt, the worry comes in. These are all emotions: fear, doubt, worry, right? Anxiety. This is essentially it, right? So we've got the mental aspect of anxiety, the thoughts and the beliefs, the stories, the overthinking, the negative thoughts, which changes the physical, the physiology, the chemicals and the hormones in the body, starts to switch that nervous system into fight or flight mode. And at the same time, you're going to start to experience fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, emotions, right? You start to be emotional. So this is really, really interesting. And I hope you guys are taking some notes on this and writing it down. Because then what happens at the level of your emotions is you've got a choice. You can either suppress your emotions or you can express them. What I teach is we got to learn how to accept what we're feeling. We got to learn how to accept our emotions. And one of the big reasons, one of the best ways that we can learn to accept our emotions is by understanding ourselves and why we're having the emotions in the first place. It's usually because of our thoughts and beliefs, stories, and meaning. You attach meaning to something and it makes you feel a certain way, right? Example of the snake is a great example. Another example is like, I don't like if I am talking about my client yesterday, like I don't share that same belief that the email inbox is a bad place. For me, it can be a good place because I have, people apply for coaching and I'll get coaching applications in my email inbox. That's a good thing for me. So for me, I don't feel bad about the inbox because I don't have that thought or story about the inbox being bad. So I don't have any emotions about that. If anything, I see it as a good thing. It's like there's always potential rewards for me in my inbox. So your thoughts, and if you just look at another example would be like different parts of the world, right? Different parts of the world have different belief systems. So a really interesting one is like in the West, right? We think that in the Middle East, we think it's bad for that women they're covered up like the way that they are. So we have a belief that it's basic respect that women should be able to show themselves, right? That's the Western belief. And sometimes it's so ingrained that we think that it should be a whole world belief, but it's not. In the Middle East, it's respectful for women to be covered up, and that is their belief system. That's really what they believe. So for us to try and impose like a Western view onto their belief system is really like kind of backwards, right? Because that's actually what they believe, and that's their story and their meaning about what it is to be respectful. So we both have different emotions and feelings about that, right? Even right now, you might be thinking, well, I know it should be, or you might even be feeling a little bit like, well, no, they should be able to be like that, right? You got to understand that's just your thought or your story or your belief. It's not shared by everyone. As humans, we all have a range of different beliefs about things, right? Even in the West, just alone in the West, right? You've got people who are non-religious, and you've got people who are religious, who believe in like Christianity and Catholicism and that kind of stuff. Different belief systems, right? Create different feelings, right? Create different emotions. So your thoughts and your stories and your beliefs always are going to create the way that you feel about things because you assign meaning to it. You create the story about the thing and what it means, and then that is going to affect how you feel about it. It's going to affect your emotions about that thing. Now, when it comes to like childhood trauma and stuff like this and early things in our life, you may have learned some things about yourself and the world when you were younger. Right? Maybe you didn't get cared for properly. Maybe you felt like you weren't good enough, or your parents were always pushing you into things that you didn't want to do. Or maybe your parents were like taking too much care of you and like coddling you too much that you never really learned how to take care of yourself. And so you develop belief systems that say, I need someone else to take care of me. Or maybe you developed your parents weren't there, or you didn't have a childhood that you thought you should have had. So you start to think that, well, I was always alone, or I was never cared for properly, I was never supported properly. And that creates a sense of feeling unsafe. feeling fearful, right? Feeling worried, always concerned about what's going to happen, right? You develop the story, it becomes an unconscious story, and then it plays out in your present life through this anxiety, constantly feeling worried, constantly feeling scared, constantly feeling afraid. Or maybe it's frustrated or angry. It could be frustrated or angry, right? You're constantly getting frustrated, triggered, angry, that kind of stuff. That's usually coming from a deeper pain within as well, which is usually a deeper story, a deeper belief system about yourself and the world. Now, what we really want to do is we don't want to suppress our emotions, but we also don't want to overly express them, which is a false belief that people have. It's that we should just always just express our emotions and tell everyone what we're feeling and all of that. Now, I'm a believer that communication is important. However, when we're talking about healing, we need to be able to accept our emotions internally. Sometimes we want to tell someone or we want to get it out because we want to change what we're experiencing. We want to push it down or push it away because we want to change what we're experiencing. Or we try to go and even like I was speaking to another client yesterday and they were saying that they went and did some breath work because they wanted to get out of the experience that they were having. So sometimes even something that's really positive and healthy like breath work can actually be a suppressant. Oh, I need to do the breath work because I need to stop feeling what I'm feeling now. I need to do gratitude journaling because I need to stop feeling what I'm feeling now. That's all suppression, trying to change what you're feeling. So that's why I say even expression, like, oh, I need to go and talk to someone, right, to get some reassurance, to like tell me that I'm okay. Expression can also be a negative form of like trying to change the thing that you're experiencing. Suppression and expression, right? That's the two ways that we generally try to do it. However, the best way to do it is to learn how to actually just accept what you're feeling and get familiar with that emotional state and understand that it's okay to feel that way. It's just an emotion, it's just a feeling. It's just coming from a thought or a belief. And if I change the belief, if I change the story, then I can start to change how I'm feeling. Right? And finally, our emotions and feelings start to impact our actions and behaviors. And our actions and behaviors create the results and the outcomes that we experience in our life. And then this is actually a feedback loop because once we start to take certain actions and behaviors, we start to receive new information. We start to have new experiences. We start to have a new awareness. We start to have a new perception because we're doing things. So this whole framework here is also interconnected. It's almost like a feedback loop. And if you have bad anxiety, it can act like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if you go through this, you have these anxious thoughts, beliefs, and stories, and then you start to feel it in your body, which is also confirmation. And then you get the emotions and the feelings, and you say, I don't want to feel this. So you try to express it or suppress it. And then you take some kind of action, which leads to, maybe you try to go and drink it away, or, smoke it away, or, even like breath work it away, or, that different example, but you get the point. And then if it doesn't work, you come up here and you get this information or this new sense of like, well, that didn't work, right? And then what happens next? New stories. Okay, well, that's a confirmation. This doesn't work. So you try everything. You've tried the healthy living. You've tried, the breath work even. You've tried, going to the doctors. You've tried talking to a psychologist. You've tried talking to a therapist. You've tried medication. You've tried the naturopath. You've tried the nutritionist, right? And nothing works. And so you just got all of this confirmation. Nothing works, nothing works, nothing works, nothing works, nothing works, right? Because you're not really aware of this feedback loop, firstly, and you're not really aware of how to actually change your thoughts and your stories and the beliefs about yourself and the world. Because if you don't change the beliefs that you have, you're going to be stuck in this feedback loop and this self-fulfilling prophecy. And it just goes around and round and round. So what we want to do is we want to change the thoughts and the beliefs about yourself and the world. So we really want to go back and start up here, right? We're changing our consciousness, we're changing our awareness, we're changing our beliefs. And when we start to do that, we can like hack into this feedback loop and we can start to change it, right? So we can create a new feedback loop, a new prophecy, right? But it has to start up here, because if it doesn't start here, you're just going to experience the same stuff in your body. You're going to experience the same emotions and feelings. You're going to experience the same actions and behaviors, which are going to lead to the same results and outcomes. So we've got to start here, right? And this is exactly what I do with my coaching clients. So let me explain. Two things that I'm really, really big on for anxiety, and this is based off how it's actually helped me. Like I've used this in my own personal life. And over the years, I have helped literally hundreds of people, right? And have had a lot of positive success stories, right? A lot of people overcoming their anxiety to the point where they say things like, my anxiety is now at bay and I'm happy. Or even if I do experience anxiety now, I know how to handle it. Where before there was significant anxiety that was just absolutely wrecking them and just ruining them. And people usually start working with me when they're feeling debilitating anxiety. Like it's like they can't go to the shops, they can't go and do social settings really well. They're just constantly in their head and just constantly stuck in this fight or flight state, and they just have maybe tried everything and there's nothing works. People usually come to me after they've tried everything and nothing's worked. Like they've gone to the psychologist, they've gone to the doctors, they've tried healthy lifestyle. The only reason I can talk about all of that is because I have seen it so many times and I hear it every single day. People usually come to me after they've tried everything. And then this is what we work on. We work on changing their consciousness, changing their awareness through meditation, right? So I'm going to give you a bit of the source now. Like the way that you change the consciousness and your awareness and your perception is through meditation, right? You need to become still, right? You need to become totally present to the experience that you're having. You start to observe or be aware of the information that's coming in, and you catch it before you start making thoughts and beliefs about it. So if you work with me, you'll know, like when I'm talking about meditation, especially silent meditation, right? We're sitting there and we are just observing the world. We're observing the bird noises outside. We're observing the baby crying downstairs, right? We're observing the cars that are driving on the road. We're observing the planes that are going over the head, but we're not making any stories about it. We're just observing it. We're just aware of it. And when you practice this awareness without attachment or without judgment or without creating a story, you start to realize that you can change your perception. You can change your consciousness. You can change your awareness. You start to like become bigger than your own senses. So another example of this would be like, I always give this example of like, I would feel totally confident to go into a busy shopping mall and just sit down and just meditate in the middle of the shopping center with people walking past. I would be able to do that. A lot of people wouldn't be able to do that because they would be like freaking out about like, what the fuck, the people looking at me, like what if someone tries to do something to me? I got my eyes closed, I don't know what's happening because I don't trust the world, is essentially what they're saying. I don't trust myself to sit down in that busy environment. And I also don't trust the world. People could fuck me up. I got my eyes closed, right? They don't trust themselves. They don't trust the world. Now, when you learn to meditate in silence and you learn how to really get connected to yourself and connected to your awareness, a natural thing that happens as well is you start to develop trust. And trust is the remedy for fear, right? Trust is really a powerful way to heal from fear. So when you, for example, with the shopping mall example, I could sit there and just be aware of what's happening without creating any stories about it, because that's essentially what people are doing, right? They would be creating a story about what it means to sit in a busy shopping mall with your eyes closed. It's not safe. It's dangerous. Someone else is going to fuck me up, right? Like, what if this happens? What if that happens? all of these thoughts, these stories, the beliefs about it. But if you get really dialed with meditation, you just sit there and it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Literally, you're just sitting down. Right. That's my story about it. It's just you just sit down and just be quiet and trust. Right. So we hack into our consciousness and our awareness through meditation. We like hack into that point before we start making thoughts and stories and beliefs and all that shit. Right. That's one aspect of it. And then the next aspect of it is we actually change the beliefs. We change the thoughts. We start to realize, oh, well, this thought or this belief is not actually serving me. It's not actually helpful. So let's change it. So the way that we do that is I encourage all my coaching clients to do a lot of journaling, right? We have affirmations, we have journaling, we have process for that as well. Because I know with affirmations, one of the things is people don't really, sometimes you don't believe what you're saying. So I have a whole process that teaches you how to do affirmations where you actually can start to believe it because you're confirming a new story. You confirm a new story. You confirm a new story. You do that every single day. You hack into your awareness. You get above your thoughts and stories and beliefs. And then you start to confirm new beliefs, new stories, new thoughts every single day. And you look for the confirmation that your new story is true. And you don't worry about the old story. You just start looking for confirmation that my new story is true. My new story is true. My new story is true. So I'll give you a quick run through of how this works now. I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to start sharing a whiteboard. All right, let's go. So we've got thoughts. All right. We got feelings. And then we've got proof. You could call this, let's call it confirmation. All right. So with the journaling process, we create a thought. So we have to have a clear thought about what we want for our life. And we have to also start to tune into, if I have this life for myself, what does it feel like? And from there, cool. Okay, how am I going to actually start to look for proof or confirmation that what I want in my life is real? So we have to create a new thought, right? So you have to like dream or imagine, use your consciousness to imagine up the kind of life that you actually want to be living. For most people, when they start with me, it's I just want to be calm. I just want to be confident. I just want to be happy, right? I just want to be positive. Cool. That's a clear thought. What does it feel like? Okay, cool. Well, I feel calm. Like I feel confident. I feel happy. I feel grateful. I feel appreciative of my life, right? I feel calm. Sweet. You got the clear thought, you got the clear feeling. So you can start to meditate on that thought, and also meditate on that feeling. Change the mind, change the body. But then the last thing is you got to also have proof or confirmation. So another thing that we do is we look at, okay, cool. What do you have or what has happened to you recently that you can say, yep, that is working. I am becoming this person. Like I have been meditating every day. Like I have been getting some guidance on this. I have been making changes in my life. Like yesterday I did feel good, right? I feel like I am making progress. So it could be anything, right? It could be the smallest little things, but we create this thought, right? So the thought is the I am. The feeling is the I feel. And the proof and the confirmation that we need to look at daily is I have, right? And if you do this for long enough, you start to create a new reality. You start to create a new story. You start to create new beliefs. Right? So, like I said, we hack into your conscious awareness with meditation. We get above your current stories. And then we start to use journaling to actually create new stories. And we do it every single day. Now, this is the way that you will be able to overcome your anxiety by changing your beliefs. Ta-da! So that's it. That's the webinar. That is how to overcome anxiety by changing your beliefs. You got to work on getting above yourself getting higher than yourself, connecting with your consciousness and your awareness through meditation, creating new beliefs, using this process of like, I am, I feel, I have, right? So a new thought, a new feeling, and what's really important is confirmation. You need to consistently confirm it every day. Spend a bit of time going, okay, cool. What do I have that I can say that is good? It's kind of like gratitude, right? Now, really, there's three things that you need when you're doing this, right? I'll get the whiteboard up again. There's really three things you need. You need a process, right? Process. That's kind of what I just gave you just then. You need support, right? So this is most helpful when you have a support system with you, right? When you have like a community or a coach or a teacher or a mentor or someone to help you with this, that is the best way to get this done, right? Because then you have some accountability. You're not doing it all by yourself. So you got the process, you got the support, and then you really need commitment, right? Commitment is a massive thing that I talk about because even what you need to do is you need to commit to being a new version of yourself. If you don't make a commitment to being a new version of yourself, if you don't decide to be a different version of yourself, you're deciding to be the current version of yourself, right? So you need the process, which I've laid out for you here. You need support. If you want support, you can apply to come onto the coaching program with us, right? We run a program. I've got a lot of my clients in this call right now who are already in the program. The way that you can apply for that is on my website, and then you're gonna have support, right? There's a couple of options available. I'll talk through them in a second, but really the final thing that you need is that commitment as well, right? You need the commitment. So I can't stress this enough, right? Decision making is so important for growth in your life. You need to decide, even for my coaching clients, right? You guys have to decide every single day. Even me, I have to decide every single day to wake up and be committed to the future that I want to create for myself, right? Right. And I'm always getting support. I just finished up with a coach. I've recently just signed up with a new coach. I'm always getting support and guidance because I know that it's helpful for me. And I'm always looking for new processes and stuff to continue my development, not only in self-development, but also in business development and stuff like that, right? It's always a thing that I'm investing into because I think it's so important. So you need the process, you need the support, you need the community. Now I'm just going to run you guys through quickly what we're doing at Mind Launch so you know what's going on, right? Here's this big circle, right? This is Mind Launch, right? Mind Launch. Now, within Mind Launch, which is my coaching company, there is some new ways to be involved, right? So there's another circle in there, and then there is another little circle in here. So this anxiety to belief change workshop, webinar, is really in this part here. Now, this part is the free stuff, right? So if you're in my community, you know I do a lot of free stuff, right? This is a free thing. I make a lot of videos on YouTube. Every Wednesday, I run the School of Consciousness. So we've got School of Consciousness, right? We've got Instagram. I make videos and stuff like that. I try to create helpful content on there. And I make YouTube videos every week, right? So that's all free within the School of Consciousness, right? And if some of you guys are here because you've come into the School of Consciousness and you've got access to this webinar through the School of Consciousness. Now, the next thing that we've got is the Mind Launch group, right? So in here, you've got access to Anxiety to Alignment, right? Plus there's a self-mastery course. Plus there's the healing series, which is about emotional healing and stuff like that. Plus you've got community. Plus you've got weekly Q&A calls, right? Plus you've also got access to School of Consciousness, right? So as of September the 1st, I'm going to be releasing a new pricing option. It's $100 a week, right? Times 6 months to be in here. right? That is what's going to be available as of 1st of September. If you want to get in before the 1st of September, then I'm currently, it's still at $150 a month, which is what I opened this anxiety to alignment course at. I opened the anxiety to alignment course at $150 a month. So if you want to get into the group before the 1st of September, you can get an absolute steal and get into the group for $150 a month, which is absolutely crazy. And I will not be doing that ever again after the 1st of September. Right? And I'm not just saying that, it's legit. I'm going to be putting it up to $100 a week. And if you want to be in the group, it's $100 a week. And then if you want more help, right, there's Mind Launch one-on-one coaching with me. So with the group, you don't get one-on-one coaching with me. You just get access to the group and all of those things in the group. But if you want one-on-one coaching with me, I'll just lay it all out for you guys. What's going on here? Mind Launch one-on-one coaching. So a lot of my there's a few of my clients here today that are on the one-on-one coaching, right? And if you're in the one-on-one coaching, you get the Mind Launch group plus everything else, plus fortnightly one-on-one calls with me, and that is $250 a week times 6 months. If you pay in full, there is incentives for that. So if you pay in full, like some of my clients here have paid in full and have saved a bit of money on the 6 months. But yeah, this is essentially what we're doing. You've got basically this tiered system of access. So you can stay into the School of Consciousness if you want, absolutely. Like I don't mind if you're getting what you need out of the School of Consciousness, sweet, just stay in that. It's a free group, and you just get access to the Wednesday calls and the YouTube videos and stuff like that. And to be honest with you guys, like some people, I've had people message me on Instagram who have been in the School of Consciousness or have just been following my YouTube videos and my Instagram and have totally changed their life. So, if people do that, I'm happy. If you want more support and you want more of the processes, like the Anxiety to Alignment course, a 6-week course, the Healing series is a 3-part series. The community is like really awesome to be a part of. I'm actually running an event at my house this Friday for some of the community members who can make it up. So you get access to all of that stuff in the group, plus extra trainings and stuff like that. Like we're running a workshop and acceptance on Thursday. So you get access to all of that in the group. So if you just wanted to join the group, you could join that. You could get processes, you get more support, and you're also making a commitment to change your life. And then the Mind Launch one-on-one coaching, right? So that's pretty much you get access to everything plus one-on-one calls with me. So that's the highest tier available. Now, like I said, if you do want to come on board, you can apply for coaching at www.mindlaunch.com.au. So I've just popped the link to that in the chat box, or you can obviously just find that on my Instagram, my website, YouTube. You'll be able to find the link somewhere. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about today, how to change your beliefs and change your anxiety. And then if you want more help, you can get more help, right? So all of this stuff here that I've just shared with you is exactly how we can help you really work on changing your anxiety, changing your beliefs. So that's it, everyone. Thank you for being with me today. I hope you learned something through that session. This replay and this recording is going to be available in the School of Consciousness, plus in the Mind Launch group. If you have any questions about it, of course, just hit me up, send me a message after this. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And like I said, if you want more support, come on board. There's an absolute deal available until 1st of September, but after that, I'll be going to $100 a week pricing for the group, and yeah, $250 for my one-on-ones, which is what it has been for a while now. So thanks for being here. Hope you learned something. Take it away, implement this stuff into your life, go over your notes again. If you want more support, just reach out. And that's it. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. I hope that's all nice and clear. Like I said, if you have any questions, hit me up. I will see you soon.